tonight. A new yet familiar name for Regina's tourism agency that's drawing mixed reaction. Also, a police dog who spent her career comforting victims of crime hangs up her leash for good. Plus, keeping crayons out of the landfill by spreading color and joy in Saskatoon.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is St. Patrick's Day, Friday, March 17th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Sam is away tonight. Tourism Regina is out. Experience Regina is in. It's a familiar phrase for residents of the Queen City, and the city hopes it will draw people from across the globe. But as Alexander Kwan reports, the new brand is also drawing criticism.
Regina, Experience Regina.
I think we should sing it.
Experience Regina. It's a phrase that makes some people laugh. And now it's the official name of Regina's tourism organization.
And it is an opportunity. When you travel globally and people talk about it, there's a moment of, what's the city called again? It just is what it is. So don't shy away from it. It is the city's name, and we should be proud of it.
The city of Regina is not reinventing the wheel. It's capitalizing off a song that went viral years ago and got even more popular after it was played on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon in 2018.
This song is called...
It's called what?
Experience Regina.
Experience Regina.
Take a listen.
It's not like the city of Regina is the first to adopt the phrase either. Rebellion Brewing has been making merchandise with the slogan for years. Its t-shirts are shipped across the globe.
It's known, it's famous. Everywhere I travel, people want our stuff. They want the shirt off my back. There's something to it. And I know that they say, oh, we don't want to be the butt of the joke. You're not, we as individuals, we're not the butt of the joke. We're all just having a laugh, and it's incredible branding and marketing. You couldn't create this yourself.
While the song is an earworm that you can't get out of your head, the rebrand has drawn mixed reviews. Some people have pointed out the joke is a little off color. The man in charge of the new Experience Regina says that's unavoidable.
That affiliation will always be an undertone that we face. I think we should be proud of our city's name, and I think we should be proud of the city that we live in. And for those that want to have a moment of humor with it, that's not a bad thing. Embrace it. We're not changing the name of the city of Regina anytime soon.
With a new name and a new outlook, leaning into what was once a joke, supporters of the rebrand say it's time for the rest of Canada to experience Regina. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The issue of the Saskatchewan First Act wasn't the only debate going on at the legislature this week. Auction sales of Saskatchewan Crown lands are also under fire, and multiple groups are questioning whether the government's processes are going too far. Betty Nippy Albright is the NDP critic for First Nations and Métis Affairs. She says many Indigenous people have not been consulted about the land sales, and she says the province is once again not respecting treaty rights.
Thousands of acres of Crown land have been sold off under this government. At the rate this government is going, soon there won't be any Crown lands left. To the Minister, what good is the treaty right to hunt if there's no Crown land left to hunt on?
Don McMorris, the minister responsible for First Nations, Métis and Northern Affairs, says First Nations and Métis people can bid on the land auctions just like anyone else. He also says nearly 360,000 hectares of land have been transferred through treaty land entitlement agreements. The investigation continues in Edmonton tonight into the fatal shootings of 2 police officers yesterday. Today, police revealed the suspect was known to police but had no criminal record, and that a prior interaction was for a mental health call. The officers' deaths have stunned the community and their fellow officers. CBC's Aaron Collins has this report.
The day after 2 Edmonton police officers were shot and killed, this community is still reeling. Residents compelled to reach out any way they can. This line of flowers growing outside the West Division Police Station in Edmonton. People moved to come here to pay their respects to the two fallen officers.
Anytime something like this happens, it hits so close to home, and every police officer gives so much of their time and of their family life and of their health, and some police officers give everything.
The constables Travis Jordan and Brett Ryan worked out of this station. The two officers shot responding to a domestic call early yesterday. Investigators say it appears the two constables didn't even have time to return fire before being gunned down. Their deaths stunning this former Edmonton police officer.
Not anticipated. And just speaking about it now makes it even more emotional, because it's not something you can really be prepared for.
The colleagues of the fallen officers were also caught off guard. The last time a police officer in Edmonton died on duty was 2015. This wound still raw for Edmonton police, but the show of support from the community they've sworn to protect helps.
This is impacting each and every one of us to our absolute core. We're feeling this, we're carrying this, we're owning this.
So as police mourn the loss of two of their own, an Edmonton family is mourning too. The 16-year-old who killed the two constables killed himself as well. He also shot his mother, who remains in hospital. This tragedy, one that ripples across this city. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Edmonton.
After the sudden retirement of the RCMP's first female leader last month, Ottawa today announced the new interim commissioner. The deputy commissioner will be in charge as the search continues for a permanent replacement. Catherine Tunney has more from Ottawa.
I feel confident in the services that we're providing Canada, and I'm so honored and privileged to be able to lead that service.
As RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki retires, she's been optimistic about where the 150-year-old force is headed. Others, not so much.
God bless her heart. You could put anybody in there you want, and it won't work. It simply won't work.
Lucki oversaw a challenging and at times controversial tenure, accused of not understanding systemic racism in the force and for the RCMP's handling of the 2020 mass shooting in Nova Scotia. A report into that tragedy will be made public later this month. And it'll be on this man to respond. As head of the RCMP's Federal Policing Division, Michael Duhaime has already been briefed on the country's most sensitive investigations. Just a few weeks ago, he updated MPs on foreign interference in Canada's elections.
You're not investigating.
We're not investigating any elements from the 2019 or the 2021 elections.
Generally, my role.
And sat at Lucki's side during the Emergencies Act inquiry. Now he'll hold the seat until the government can find a permanent replacement.
It doesn't matter who you put in, because the structure's all broken. It's like one of those Escher drawings where you see stairways going all over the place, and you figure, what the heck is that? That's the RCMP.
That includes balancing boots-on-the-ground policing in most provinces with the desires of Ottawa, staying on top of national security, and healing ties with Indigenous communities. Challenges the Prime Minister acknowledged today.
I can assure you that we are very much looking at how to ensure that the RCMP can continue to offer the very best service to Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
It's unclear how long Duhaime will helm the RCMP. The federal government says it will soon announce how it will choose its next commissioner, promising to find an exceptional leader who reflects Canada's values. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Ottawa.
Saskatchewan's first justice facility dog is hanging up her leash for good. Merlot, the black Labrador retriever who has comforted countless victims and witnesses of crime, is retiring from the Regina Police Service. We caught up with Merlot and her handler this week.
So Merlot turned 10 in January, so we're at almost 8 years of service for her. Last year, like late summer, beginning of fall, she started having a few health like nothing major, but some health issues that kind of got me thinking, and then just started showing some signs to me that she just couldn't handle the amount of stress anymore. my experience in dealing with individuals who have experienced crime or trauma, it's hard to put yourself in their shoes. And when you add in a dog, it's a whole new ball game. You see people more confident and more willing to come in to speak with police, to go to court and tell their story. And I think that speaks volumes for our justice system. As you know, police, we remain neutral throughout when we're doing our interviews. And we can't touch people, right? We can't offer that affection to individuals, and the dogs can. Okay, Merlot, push, push. Oh, now we're locked out. That was it. The dogs do take on the stress of the individuals that they're working with, and so that was part of the reason, you know, years of stress at why Merlot has retired. But during those times, she's that calm, consistent being during a stressful time. And retirement is just going to be about being a dog, going to the lake, which is what she did before on her days off, but now she doesn't have to carry that stress, doesn't have to worry so much about the individuals around here. She can kind of be selfish a bit and just go for her play, like exercise. No, it didn't work. Because Erin will always give treats. We will still be, not our 24 hours a day together, but we will spend as much time as possible when I'm not at work, and she will still be living with me. I'll adopt her, and she can just hang out and be our pet.
Looks like now is the moment.
Well, in the Arctic, it's the best time of the year to view one of the most spectacular sights the skies have to offer, and the dial on the Northern Lights was at its highest setting over northern Finland last night. This Finnish town bills itself as a Northern Lights tourist destination, complete with a glass igloo for viewing. But will it be warmer to go Northern Lights viewing in our province? Meteorologist Kristi Kleiman-Haga will tell us after the break. Welcome back. University students are using repurposed crayons to spread joy and color in Saskatoon. Recolor is a project within Enactus USask, an international nonprofit led by Students for Entrepreneurial Action. Here's how they saved more than 11,000 crayons from going into the landfill.
Recolor was an initiative focused on diverting waste from the landfills, primarily through you partnering with family restaurants to divert any crayons that they have to provide to their patrons. We then take them, sort them, peel the wrappers off of them, and finally start to melt them down.
I would say a big thing is that crayons, so there's petroleum waste that would be going into the landfills if we weren't able to divert them. So we are essentially diverting petroleum waste from like fossil fuels going into the landfill. We try to make sure that we're donating them to kids that truly need them.
It takes about 2 regular crayons to develop one of our typical crayons, and that's just because ours tend to be thicker to prevent breakage, to help with dexterity issues. We've also heard from some of our grandmas who've bought the kits that they enjoy the shapes of them as they're easy to hold with their arthritis. I hope that we're able to reach out to more students to educate more people on the importance of sustainability, and ideally eventually work towards a way where we don't have to produce single-use crayons anymore.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, part of the Capital Automotive Group.
And meteorologist Kristi Kleiman-Haga joins us now. And Kristi, I know March is always a bit of a weird weather month, but boy, was it ever cold today.
It's such a wild card. You always get one or the other, and today, this year, it looks like we're on the colder side of the March stick. Temperatures this morning really, really chilly across the province, even minus 30-degree temperatures in parts of northern Saskatchewan. So here's a look at what we saw early this morning. Temperatures at about minus 32 in South End. Regina, you got only to minus 21.5, minus 22, but still feeling brisk, especially with a little bit of wind, picking up that wind chill value. And in Saskatoon, in the mid minus 20s as well. Now, as for our current temperatures or temperatures this afternoon, we did see them kind of in those mid minus teens, lower minus double digits. Minus 13 degrees this afternoon in Regina, minus 10 in Saskatoon. A little bit of heat coming in from the west, just a little ridging over Alberta, bringing in that warmer weather and that kind of trickling into the Leader, Kindersley, North Battleford area. But wow, definitely feeling that cold snap into parts of the southeast. Now, as we make our way into the day tomorrow, we are going to see more of the same and more of those calm winds that we've been seeing. A little breezy in the extreme southeastern corner of the province, but winds really remaining pretty mild as we head through this forecast period. It is going to be a pretty stagnant one, we call in the weather world, where we're not really seeing a lot of weather systems at all driving that windy weather and driving precipitation. As you can see from our satellite and radar, clear day, pretty quiet. Looks like that's going to be the story for tomorrow. Might start to see some cloud cover peeking in as you move into the end of the weekend. Now, as for what we've got going on, high pressure really solidly dominating this forecast period. There is a little bit of a low that will just skirt through northern Saskatchewan, but other than that, it might drive some light flurries. Other than that, we are going to be seeing pretty quiet weather for most of the weekend. Again, that cold front could just bring in a little bit of flurried activity late day into Sunday, but our winds definitely not much to speak about through the weekend. Temperatures are going to be feeling a little cooler with the wind chill, but not much of that wind to contend with. Now, as for what's normal for this time of year, we are a little below the bar, especially into our overnight temperatures, what we saw last night and what we'll see tonight as well. Definitely not the coldest St. Patrick's Day that we've seen in the Regina area, but definitely going to be feeling the cooler trend as we head through the forecast period. Here's a look at our long range temperatures in those minus single digits all the way through the weekend. For our first day of spring, it's not really going to feel like it. Minus 8 degrees through the afternoon, maybe some light flurried activity. Things improving a little bit towards the end of the week, but a pretty slow March. It's a really consistent forecast period for you. Into Saskatoon, again, we are below what we should see, a little closer to normal into the day tomorrow, but temperatures definitely cooler than last year and cooler than what we've typically would see at this point in March. And continuing that way through the forecast period, we are going to see temperatures cooling down a little bit into the start of next week and then recovering through. And again, in terms of our precipitation, not a lot to speak about. Some light flurried activity and then clearing out once again. So a quiet forecast for us, Ethan, but definitely a cooler one. It looks like our spring jackets are definitely going to have to stick around at least for the next little while.
Yeah, I think we should be moving the first day of spring, maybe to April 1st this year. Maybe we'll feel a little bit better if that happens.
I think so.
All right. Thanks so much, Christy.
You're welcome.
Volunteers at Calgary's airport are bringing in their furry friends to help shake off some of that travel stress that we've all been feeling lately. Dogs roam the terminal, greeting passengers during peak travel time. Turns out petting a pup before takeoff can help soothe anxieties and make people really happy. Who knew? We'll be back after the break. An Ontario woman who claims she was scalded by a cup of tea is suing Tim Hortons. She alleges the cup was defective and the tea water too hot. As we hear from CBC's Talia Ricci, she wants to warn others about the risk. But first, a warning: this story contains graphic images of burned skin.
It's tough. Jackie Lansing says all she did was pick up her cup of Tim Hortons tea from her car's cup holder when the cup collapsed, spilling the scalding hot liquid all over her.
Of course, you start to scream because it hurts. I picked it up normally. I didn't try and take off the top or anything. I just picked it up.
This happened back in May. She was with her sister at the time, who drove her to the hospital in Huntsville.
I was in there for about 5 hours with ice packs on it and on morphine because it was so painful. They were open wounds, bleeding.
It would be the first of many more visits to the hospital after suffering second-degree burns to approximately 6% of her body. For a period of time, she was going daily to get her bandages changed. One of the wounds got infected. Lansing says after Tim Hortons' head office didn't get back to her, her family encouraged her to get a lawyer. They're suing for $500,000 in damages.
Tim Hortons declined to comment while the matter is before the courts. The defendants, the Tim Hortons Canadian franchisor and the owner of the location, deny any allegations of negligence.
The statement of defense argues the defendants, their agents, and staff fulfilled all duties of care in regards to the sale and delivery of hot beverages, and that even if the spill was a result of the condition of the cup, it was not in any way caused or contributed to by any breach of care or duty on the part of the defendants. This lawyer, who's not involved in the case, says lawsuits against restaurants claiming damages for hot beverage burns are common.
As long as you're able to prove that something was done out of the ordinary, that there was some negligence here, then you should be successful in a case like this. But there are always risks, right? And one thing that I always warn every one of my clients or potential clients about is the risk of contributory negligence on the plaintiff.
Lansing says 10 months later, she still has sore red scars on her stomach, and the back of her legs are sensitive to sunlight and heat. This doctor says he sees cases of burns and scalds from hot water often.
And I think awareness of prevention strategies for businesses serving hot fluids, and also to just for everybody to be aware of first aid, that's important. You could avoid long-term effects by just applying that.
Lansing hopes sharing her story provokes change.
The water does not have to be that hot. It doesn't. I don't want this to happen to anyone else.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
A British artist is down in the dumps about finding an apartment. Literally. He plans to live in a dumpster in downtown London for a year to draw attention to the high cost of living.
This is where I sleep. It's actually kind of cozy. One of my favourite parts of the design is definitely the curved roof. Kind of makes it feel a little bit more like a cocoon. A skip, obviously, it's actually a very British term. I didn't realise when I first started doing these projects but most of the world would know it as a dumpster. I was doing some work abroad and I was moving back to London and had to start that kind of dreaded hunt for a room. The prices had gone crazy, rent was mad. And even if I found somewhere that was in my price zone, then there'd be 100 other people also looking for that room. So this is the main living space. I've got the cooker here. There's a very tiny fridge. As you can see, it does not fit that much. So this is where my water is. So I refill this from a hose pipe that comes from the neighbour's property. When I'm washing up in the sink, that drains down into here, which I can pour away down the drains. I've got the portaloo in the corner of the site. All the neighbours are amazing actually, they're super friendly. I've had people that live on the street come up to me and say their kids have grown up here, their work is here, and now with prices going crazy, they're having to move way outside the city. The skip provided me the kind of opportunity to make my own tiny little house and show that juxtaposition of a house inside something which should never be lived in.
Well, another cool night ahead, as we did see last night across Saskatchewan. It looks like temperatures back in the -20s tonight. So something to be prepared for your day tomorrow. Here's a look at our forecast for Regina. Temperatures sitting in those -teens or -20s through the evening hours, and then really peaking into the cooler temperatures early in the morning. You will see that sunshine though tomorrow, so that will warm us up quite a bit, and getting back towards the -single digits by the afternoon. And into Saskatoon, -18 degrees at midnight, so a little bit milder, but still well below where we should be at this time of year. Temperatures, again, really benefiting from that sunshine tomorrow. Temperatures still chilly in the morning, but by the afternoon you should be closer to the freezing mark. So thank goodness we are starting to see that sun at a more direct angle, heating us up after these very cold mornings. Ethan?
And we could sure use it. Thanks so much, Christy. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn Reed and Christy will be back with more local news and weather at 11. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.